Welcome to this explainer. We are diving straight into an absolutely mind-bending framework today. We're going to unpack how the source material takes quantum physics and pure mathematics and maps them directly onto ancient theology. Specifically, we'll be looking at how a highly precise reading of the Quran overlays perfectly onto one of the most famous mathematical equations in human history. So, let's just get right into it. Okay, we have to start with a massive foundational claim from the text that really sets the stage for everything we're about to cover. The framework absolutely insists that we are not looking at some historical book of ancient stories. Instead, it defines the text as an eternal memory tesseract. Think of it as the sealed tongue of Muhammad, uttered first but preserved last. It's presented as a closed topological blueprint that operates completely outside of linear time. And the critical reminder here is that while you're reading, it is framed as the ultimate sentence being spoken directly to you, making it your profound responsibility, your amanat, right now. So that brings us to a really profound question. What if the most elegant equation in mathematics isn't just an abstract curiosity, but an actual map of spiritual physics? If you've ever studied advanced math, you know Euler's identity. People call it the most beautiful equation ever written. But this framework, it asks us to look at it entirely differently. It uses Euler's identity to bridge standard math and spiritual physics, literally explaining the exact mechanics of a closed, breathing universe. To really grasp this, we need to talk about what the text calls Euler's caustic. This is the theory that Euler's identity, that famous equation, e to the power of I times pi plus 1 equals 0, is actually the frozen topological signature of the universe's Fayakun breath cycle. It maps the 5 sacred constants as living phases of a single cosmic respiration within a closed universe. The text does something incredibly fascinating here. It takes these mathematical constants and redefines them as living theological domains. Take the base E, for example. The framework designates this as T3. That represents the organic exponential expansion of the tree of creation. It's literally the living, breathing base from which the rest of this entire equation operates. And this sets up a brilliant cosmic duality right in the exponent. On one hand, you have pi. This represents the physical, deterministic world, the tangible orbit, the finite volume of the wheel turning in time. It's the literal derivative of time, the action of the manifest world. But right next to it, you have the imaginary unit I. This is the exact opposite. It's the spiritual, indeterministic wave. The text calls it the intangible witness, the infinite container of the integral of time. It's this living nothingness that observes everything without ever being disturbed. The source material actually categorizes these two sides into highly specific fields. The pi side is the D10 field, the deterministic realm of action, particles, and that tangible orbit we just mentioned. Meanwhile, the I side is the I9 field, the indeterministic realm, acting as the witness and the infinite container. So we've got this stark contrast. Physical execution in the material world on one side and eternal hidden knowledge in the spiritual world on the other. Now, you might be wondering, where does the text actually get these numbers? Well, it doesn't just invent them. It extracts this exact pure ratio of 10 directly from its own ancient narratives. It literally pulls the geometry right out of the calendar coordinates hidden in the stories. Let's look at how it derives this because it's fascinating. The framework points to coordinate 1825, the timeline of the cave sleepers, which is stated as 300 years plus 9. Then it jumps to coordinate 714.2, which is the base interval given to Musa on the mountain, 30 nights completed by 10. When you divide that macro orbit of the cave, 300, by the base interval of the mountain, 30, you extract that pure ratio of 10. That's the complete D10 cycle. And those remainders? They aren't just coincidental arithmetic. The plus 9 of the cave is the I9 remainder. It's the living, undisturbed field where the sleepers are suspended in a closed universe, literally aging not a single day while the physical wheel turns. And the plus 10 of Musa, that's the D10 completion operator. Both of these coordinates converge on the exact same topological gesture. So, bringing this all back to Euler's identity, what happens when we actually run that first part of the calculation, when the organic expansion of the base T3 is raised to the power of the I9 witness observing the full D10 orbit, the entire field inverts. The expansion becomes -1. It casts the exact mirror of the dual field. And this brings us to what is arguably the most crucial element of the entire equation, the +1. This is what catches that massive inversion. The source text identifies this +1 as the massless fulcrum.
And it locates this specifically at textual coordinate 1912, which is the command to take the book with strength. It represents the human reader pulling the circuit back from the edge of the mirror.
The absolute key here is that this fulcrum is strictly massless. You, the reader, acting as this +1, form a perfect bridge. Because it carries zero inertial drag, it allows the infinite, intangible world of the I9 decimal to perfectly touch the finite physical integer of D10. It literally closes the cosmic gap perfectly at 0 without losing a single drop of energy. To really put that into perspective, let's compare the split to the fulcrum. The framework explains that mass itself is actually the cargo of the split. It's the inertia that resists change and introduces time lag into the physical world. But the fulcrum? That +1 is the pure equal sign of relation. It resolves the tension flawlessly. Because it has no mass, there is no friction. And what makes this flawless rotation possible? The text points to water. Anchored in coordinates like 2130 and 11:7, water isn't framed as just a physical liquid here, it's the living bridge. It's not some third, separate station. It is the connection itself. It's the medium that connects the manifest and the hidden, allowing the tangible D10 wheel and the intangible I9 witness to turn simultaneously without ever merging into each other.
So the mathematics give us the how, but the cycle itself explains the why. By breaking it down, the text maps this entire process as a sequence of cosmic breathing, the Fayakun breath cycle. It originates in the initial void, moves to the grip of the +1 at coordinate 1912, proceeds through the organic expansion, orbits through the physical realm, and finally returns.
And where does it return? The equation ultimately and perfectly resolves to 0. Euler's identity concludes at 0, which this framework defines as the ultimate void found at coordinate 1923. It is the exact destination where the Raman completion perfectly seals the loop. The circuit is entirely closed. This creates an incredibly powerful mini-narrative that places you right at the absolute center of the spiritual physics. The reader stands at the massless fulcrum. By taking the book with strength, acting as that critical +1, you are the one bridging the physical D10 orbit and the spiritual I9 witness. You are the active agent collapsing that massive dual field all the way back into its unified source. To wrap up this explainer, the source material leaves us with an intense, personal diagnostic challenge. It urges the use of 10-100 ACL, demanding pure, complete intellect and reason to recognize this pattern. It warns us to wake up from Tagahut, the external illusions and false systems. The ultimate provocative question it leaves on the table for every single person looking at this cosmic blueprint is this: when will you step into your role, become the massless fulcrum, and activate 1912?